They often say that less is more, and this digital painting is such a beautiful example. When you first see this work, you will be caught by the flood of a green-blue color palette that overwhelms you instantly. So much of this work is completely empty. We see a stunning use of contrast in this canvas. The striking red form of this small subject sets a distinct mark and commands the attention of all who pass in its presence. Our subject seems to be a samurai of some kind. This figure appears to be in the midst of travel, as if moving on towards a new life. The theme of the wandering warrior in the samurai class is not entirely fiction. Although most of these samurai served their own individual daimyo lords as warriors, some did roam without any social commitment to one master or one particular region. These were known as Ronin and included famous figures such as Miyamoto Musashi. Visually, the presence of our samurai subject stands against both the sky and the hills as if it overflows in the visual. These act to frame his presence and emphasize his visual importance in the composition. Yet even without this placement, the red cloak alone is the most striking color in the composition. Red, of course, is already such a high attention color, but due especially to the color-based rarity in this scene, it is simply impossible to ignore the presence of this lone samurai. And the setting of this scene appears to be a remote countryside of some kind, a beautiful Japanese landscape. There are a ton of beautiful flowers in this piece. They offer a stunning sense of color and add quite a bit of beauty to this scene. Original artist Jocelin Carmes notes a clear inspiration from the famous Studio Ghibli in this scene, and we see this most in color and style, with stunning vibrant colors and a beautiful, even enchanting and dreamlike depiction of nature. And in the creation of this piece, Carmes also follows in the footsteps of the great Japanese landscapists such as Sessue Toyo. Toyo pioneered a new movement in Japanese painting that were directly inspired by his travels to China during the Ming Dynasty. This specific style of painting has its origins in Taoism or Taoism. We first see this in China and later Japan. It emphasizes a natural environment, often with a ton of empty or unfilled space in the composition. Of course, in art history, this empty space is known as negative space, which refers to the absence of any forms in a certain area of the canvas. It's important to mention that the presentation of these styles were rooted within the historical context of the time, most notably Zen Buddhism. In Zen, there is an emphasis on the present moment, or the suchness of the present. There is no yesterday, no tomorrow, only you, here and now, moving forward with open eyes in this very moment. But when we look upon the amount of empty space in this scene, we can't help but feel a grand sense of scale. This, of course, creates a contrast with an inherent emphasis that is placed upon any objects or people that happen to fill this empty space. Yet, it is also important to note the influence of the yin and yang, or definitive duality, in this context. The yin and yang is an ancient symbol derived from Taoism or Taoism. Notice how this symbol contains both the light and the dark, but even with a bit of each within the other. This points to the importance of duality. Light defines dark, just like day defines night, life defines death, and good defines evil. Throughout life, there are an endless amount of examples of this duality, but it's important to remember that each one defines each other by its very existence. After all, without the emptiness of space, we wouldn't know what it's like for that space to be filled. And we can't help but feel as if this grand sense of scale and all this empty space reminds us of our true place in it all. We exist as just one part of a larger ecosystem, whether that is in family, society, culture, country, or even the entire planet and the cosmos as a whole. This is a humbling realization that brings us back to the present moment and allows us to let go of ego. And especially in the practice of Zen Buddhism, this is a very important realization. It is one of many steps to a true sense of liberation. The piece before us is a product of the digital illustration medium of expression, also known as digital painting. There is a beautiful sense of detail within the composition. Of course, it is also quite reminiscent of Impressionism in that respect. There are visible brushstrokes with a little bit of vague forms, but even then, it is a cartoon composition. It is exactly what you would expect, just like the style of Studio Ghibli. Jocelin Carmes is a French artist who made their premiere debut in the Apollo Art Archive on the 29th of November in the year 2021 with the stunning digital painting entitled The Conductor. And of course, to date, we have studied a wide variety of this original artist's works. Truly a master of digital painting and a career artist in every sense of the word. Thus, this digital painting offers a beautiful visual experience, one filled with much empty space to remind us of our place in this grand universe. Such beautiful colors, such a stylized, almost impressionist influence here. And at the end of the day, although the life of a wandering warrior may be quite lonely, it's important to stop and smell the roses. Always live in the present moment and never take these times for granted.